Hello, my name's Charlie. I am new here. You may know me from nowhere because I have absolutely no presence on the internet until right now. But I'm going to make a little newbie tag video despite the fact that absolutely nobody has tagged me. But here we go. Question number 1. Why did I start this channel? I started this channel primarily for the community aspect, which I think a lot of people say when they're asked this question. Why did they join Booktube? Because they want to get deeper ingrained into this community. And that's definitely true for me. I've been reading a lot for the past 3-ish years. And somewhere in that time, I found Andrew Watson's channel, and I've been watching it a ton, and I found that he has a Discord. And when I joined that Discord, I very quickly was welcomed by just a bunch of great people. And I've had a lot of fun there in the past several months, talking about books, recommending books, getting books recommended to me, just generally nerding out. And I figured it's time to take that next step and kind of get even further ingrained into the community. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to meeting even more people and having even more discussions about these things that I like. Because in real life, I don't know that many people that read the books that I read. And another reason is that I want to get more out of the books that I'm reading. So right now, I could read a book. You could ask me how it was. I could tell you it was great, tell you the basic vibes. But very soon I will lose it all. I lose all the characters, all the story beats and everything like that. Making videos, I think, could help me read more consciously and think more critically about the stories that I'm consuming, which I think would be great. I definitely listen to a lot of audiobooks, and sometimes I can zone out. And I think having in the back of my mind, knowing that I'm going to be making a video, or that I might want to make a video about this book, could help me not to do that, and to maybe to annotate or something like that. Just pay more attention to what I'm reading. Question number 2, what fun and unique things can I bring to YouTube or Booktube? I can bring me. I'd like to think that I can bring some interesting content. I have several hobbies that I kind of go full force on, the main 2 being reading and board games. And I have ideas, I think fun ideas, for some videos where I could hybridize the 2. And I don't think I'm the first person to talk about books and board games on YouTube. I know Easy Cat is a huge creator, and they do a ton of that, a ton of board game content, a ton of book content. But I think that's super fun, and I would love to be a part of that. Question 3, what am I most excited for about this new channel? I really think community is the thing that I'm most excited for. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I think I rambled for question 1, but that essentially that, community, more community. Number 4, this will also be a short one. Why do I like reading? I don't think I have a crazy answer for this. I just like it. I do it. It relaxes me. It keeps me busy. When I'm doing monotonous tasks, I can put an audiobook in, and it just makes that easier. And beyond that, just the stories. Getting cool, interesting stories into my brain. 5, what book or series got me into reading? So this is a good question. I think this one has some layers to it. When I was a kid, obviously I was reading things like Magic Tree House and Frog and Toad and things like that. And I was very engaged in those stories. I loved reading as a kid. And then later on, I got into Holes. I think I read Holes 5 or 6 times. I really loved it. I would finish it and then reopen it at page 1. I had a lot of fun with that. There's a book called Among the Hidden that got me right in the heart. I think that's the only book I ever cried at. There's this big scene at the end that really got me. And then Harry Potter, of course. I'm a millennial, so I grew up with these books. I don't think I've ever actually read past book 3. I got really into the movies, and that was easier than reading the books. But I have very fond memories of my mom reading, I think, this exact copy to me and my siblings in bed. And I think we also read through book 2, and then book 3 I might have read on my own. And then later in life, not unlike a lot of people, I fell off of reading. It was a lot of just being told that I had to read this when I wanted to read this, and then just not reading anything at all. And it wasn't until about 3 years ago that I finally got back into it. And that is because of Brandon Sanderson and Mistborn specifically. I remember I was on a trip and I wanted to be reading, and I was trying to read Red Rising for the 3rd time, I believe, at that point. I've read it. I've started that book several times, and I can't. Around the halfway point, this time I had made it like 75% of the way through. I can't make it through that book. I don't know what it is. I know people say book 2 gets better. I just don't have it in me to start book 2 without finishing book 1. And I also don't have it in me to finish book 1. But regardless, I put that down and I picked up the audiobook for Mistborn. And I was sucked in instantly. I know a lot of people struggle a little bit at the beginning, but I was immediately hooked. So I tore through this and the next few in the series. And this was really the jumping point for me. I have not stopped since picking this book up. I think this stack is just going to shrink a little bit as we go, and we're just going to see how jarring that is for you. Next question, what is a question that I would ask to my favorite booktubers? My main burning question for my favorite YouTubers is like, how are you? How's it going? Did you think I was ever going to do this? I'm in an interesting spot where I'm actually kind of friends with a lot of my favorite YouTubers at this point. I do watch a lot of Murphy Napier videos and Daniel Green videos, and I don't know them. But like I said, I also watch a lot of Andrew Watson's videos, and I joined his Discord, and when I joined his Discord, I met a bunch of other creators, a bunch of other YouTubers, and I think at this point it's safe to say that I'm friends with them. So, not that any of them need a shout out from me, since they are probably the only people that are going to watch this video, but I'll link them below and I'll shout them out here. So shout out to Andrew Watson, who is getting your 3rd shout out now, Hardy's Books, Mayor of Lady Mayor Reads, there's Sam Harrison, Reading with Rebecca Nicole, Cams Campbell, Timothy Burbage, and more recently, Ray Loves to Read and Hopeless Alamantic have joined the Discord. I hope I didn't miss anybody there. If I did, I'll link you below, and if I miss you there, I'm sorry. But they're all really great people. If you're watching this and you're somehow not one of them, definitely go watch all their stuff. They're great. Really, everybody in the Discord is super nice and super supportive. And I guess realistically, my question to my favorite YouTubers is, how did I do? Any tips, any recommendations for things that I should focus on for improving for the next video? Let me know. Number 7, what challenges do I think are going to be the hardest to overcome? This is so far outside of my comfort zone. And really, I think that's the only challenge that I foresee. I mean, it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hard to be consistent and to think up new ideas, every, I don't know, weekly maybe, or bi-weekly for a video. But I think those are fun challenges. The harder challenge is that this is hard. Putting anything up onto the internet of mine is new to me. I think it sounds funny to say that I am terrified of anybody watching this video, but I am terrified of anybody watching this video. So if you are watching this and you want me to stop, just say one mean thing in the comments and I'm out of here. Number 8, when did you start reading? This is a little redundant maybe because of the way that I answered that other question, but early childhood I started, and then you could say I started a couple times since then. But because I rambled so much in that other one, I don't have much more to say here. Number 9, where do I read? Everywhere. I generally take a book with me if I'm going somewhere by myself, a doctor or anything like that. But I primarily at this point am an audiobook person, so I listen to a book if I'm washing the dishes, walking the dog, going to the store, or driving anywhere. So anywhere the books go with me. And a lot of time, as of late, I am reading in a dark room with a Kindle while my son takes a contact nap on me. And number 10, the reason for this stack, what kind of books do I read? I do read primarily fantasy with some sci-fi sprinkled in there. But I do like branching out and trying new things. For fantasy, primarily, I read a lot of Brandon Sanderson. Like I said, Mistborn is what got me into this. I am three full-length novels and one novella away from being Cosmere complete. I'm currently reading Dawn Shard. I'm barely started. I've read, I think, just the prologue. But I'm very excited to be here, because after this, then I can get into Rhythm of War, and then I'll be ready for the new book in, I think, December. After that, all I need to read is Yumi and Sunlit Man, and then I'm up to date as far as the Cosmere goes. Not including White Sand, but I want to wait for the novelization of that, because I just do. But I do read other fantasy outside of Brandon Sanderson. Most recently, I am getting into the Dresden Files. So I have here, I just got this from the library today, Full Moon. Cheesy title, but that works. For Dresden, I just recently finished the first one, and I wasn't going to pick this up until next month. I think I might do like one a month, but I was at the library and I saw it and I just picked it up. I also love reading T. Kingfisher, who it's kind of fantasy, but kind of fairy tale retellings, or they at least feel like fairy tales or like folklore kind of books, at least the ones I've read. Nettle and Bone, What Moves the Dead. I've read the sequel to this, What Feasts at Night, I think it's called. I read Thornhedge, several of T. Kingfisher's books. I just got an arc recently for their most recent book. I can't remember the name of it right now. I haven't read that yet, but that's coming soon. I'm very excited for that. And yeah, I really like these kind of folklore, fairy tale retellings. Retellings in general, I think I like. So there's things like Circe, which is I think essentially a retelling, right? Or it's kind of a telling a story that hasn't been told a little bit. Madeline Miller is fantastic. These are Greek mythology that she seems to write. So there's Circe. This book is very, very good. And then even better, I think, The Song of Achilles, which is, again, it's kind of a retelling, but they're from a different perspective. So in Song of Achilles, you hear from the point of view of Patroclus. So yeah, things in that vein I seem to really get into, especially when they're Greek mythology, because I love Greek mythology, which is why Mythos is also in this pile here. I loved Mythos. It reads almost like a textbook. They look kind of like a textbook. It's words, it's pictures and diagrams, but Stephen Fry did an excellent job, and he narrates the audiobooks. I've only read Mythos, but I have Heroes in Troy upstairs. I didn't know there were so many pictures in the book when I listened to the audiobook. You don't need the pictures, but then I went out and bought them because they're full of pictures, which I'm sure is really fun to look at while you're reading it to help visualize things, but you don't need it. And then outside of mythology, kind of going back to fantasy, but maybe you could consider it sci-fi, anything with superheroes I'm pretty into. So I grew up reading a ton of X-Men and Spider-Man, and I don't really have an affiliation of Marvel or DC. I like them both. And generally I like reading comic books. So anything by Brian K. Vaughan, I'll read. I've got Saga here that I'm all caught up on. I've read all of Why the Last Man, which is up on the shelves behind me, and I love that. And I'm currently reading Paper Girls as well. And I also read a little bit of manga here and there. So I am current on what has been printed for One Punch Man. I am working my way very slowly through One Piece. I'm in the middle of volume 11 right now. I haven't been completely sold yet, but I just finished Arlong Park. And so I'm officially ahead of the live action show that came out recently, and I am having a good time. I'm just not completely hooked in yet. And I also recently finished volume 1 of Spy Family, and I had a lot of fun with that. And then there's this book here, X Heroes. This is a series. I was gifted book 1, I think last Christmas, and I tore through this series. It's like as close as you can get to a comic book in a novel. I don't know that I would recommend it to everyone, but if you are really into reading and you're really into comic books, I thought this was super fun. It's zombies and superheroes and zombie superheroes. Like, hello, I'm there. So I had a lot of fun with this. I don't know, again, if it's top tier literature, but I loved it. Occasionally I also like reading something cozy or slower paced, low stakes. Legends and Lattes was great. I haven't read Bookshops and Bone Dust yet, but I have read A Prayer for the Crown Shy and A Song for the Wild Built in the opposite order of that. And these are great. I love these. So I would love more of whatever this is. And also read books that are as far from cozy as you can get, with books like The Road, which is so dark and depressing, but phenomenal book. I think one of my favorite books of all time. I would have to reread it to see if that still holds true. But when I read this, it really blew me away. And as far as like pure sci-fi goes, Andy Weir is the only one who's really gotten me into sci-fi at this point. I've read some Murderbot, and it's good, but I haven't found really like a sci-fi series that I wanted to sink my teeth in. I think sci-fi often makes me feel stupid. Andy Weir somehow doesn't make me feel stupid. I read his book The Martian right when it came out, and then within the last year I picked up Project Hail Mary, and I love them both. They're really good. I will definitely pick up anything else he writes. I have not yet read Artemis, although I've heard recently a few people, Sam Harrison included, who say that they like that even better than these two, which is surprising because I had assumed nobody liked that book because nobody talks about that book. But now I'm kind of really intrigued, and I definitely want to check that out. But let me know if you have any sci-fi suggestions, because I don't really know where to go from here. I think The Expanse is probably one I should check out, and maybe Sun Eater. I'm not really sure when I'll fit another sci-fi book in, because there's a lot of fantasy that I want to get through. And that is it. Some of those went way too long, and I rambled a ton. But thank you for bearing with me, those of you who did. Feel free to let me know how I could improve this. If it's lighting, sound, getting rid of this chair, if it's annoying in the jump cuts, anything at all, really. I'd really appreciate it. And thanks for watching. Bye.